Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry, my background is a bit noisy. So, yes, Oduyemi, I heard what you said. So I just wanted to like get what you learned from the class. I understand what the topic was definitely. So, what did you learn from the class? Yeah.
We learned what product design is and the branches of product design.
That feedback. Titi Loye, Titi Lope. I see you were raising your hand. You can speak. You can speak. Oh, you're muted if you're speaking. If you're saying something.
Sorry, what's the question again?
Yes, I said, what did you learn from the session yesterday?
Okay, the class
Yeah.
was about introduction to product design, and I learned what product design is all about, the categories of products, and as well what product design entails, branches of product design, and career path in product design as well.
All right, thank you so much for that. So we'll go straight into it today. I'm sure you guys have the curriculum already. So today we are diving into one of the sensitive areas. I know that like our session yesterday, as I mentioned, was more of a general introduction into what product design is about and the career paths, like what was just mentioned now, and several generalized. So if you could also remember, mention two different, like the different branches of UA of product design, which entails UX and UI. So for this training, I think I mentioned it in our session on Monday. I don't know those of you that were there, but that was like supposed to be our official first intro call. But I guess at that time, most of you had not yet joined the Telegram group, so it was just a very brief session. So I mentioned there that we'll be having this product design class is kind of divided into two different sections, and not because these sections are necessarily different, they work together. In fact, in most cases, most trainings you go for, they will combine like they just do everything together, they jumble up everything. So at the first week of your class, you can even start like doing what do they call it, you can just go straight into Figma. And I'm sure most of you know what Figma is. Figma is one of the design tools that you use. But because we are more interested in making sure that you understand the concept of these things, why do you even need to use Figma as a tool? That's like our priority in this training, to give you everything, like to give you all the necessary knowledge and experience, practice, everything you would need, that even after these 3 months is very possible. Like if you do so, I mean, if you give yourself to eat perfectly, like for the next 3 months, trust me, at the end of it, it's very possible you even land yourself an internship role. That is for those of you that are just maybe getting into the field for the first time. Like this is the first time you're hearing about product design. So, but before I even dive into what we'll be doing for today, I want to just get a quick response on something. So I know most of you are like beginners, like maybe this is the first time you're getting to know about the concept of product design and you're doing a training on product design. So I wanted to also find out, are there people here that maybe you've done a training before, or you're not really a beginner when it has to do with product design? Please, if you're that kind of person here, can you just raise your hand? You can use the raise hand icon on the call. So let me just confirm something. Okay, I have, let me see. I have how many hands raised? So the hands raised now are for people that are not beginners, right? Okay, so all of you raising your hands, you're not beginners. So I have Ogechi. I have 9 of you that are not beginners. 9 of you that are not beginners. Okay. So I'll just take a screenshot of these names. And the reason is because as much as we want to give everybody the basics, and because of the way this course is structured, all of you, we want to carry everybody along. Like everybody has to learn something, everybody has to take away, like has to be better at whatever level. Like if you're coming into this place as a beginner, then definitely at the end of the 3 months, you should be a step higher than where you were when you joined. So the same way, even if maybe you're at intermediate level or something like that, you should still like go a step higher. So I understand how it can be. I mean, imagine like just you've already like gotten to a higher level in it, and then you have to now start from the basics again. I understand how it can be. Like you might feel like, what am I even doing here? What's all these things? But if there's anything I can assure you, is that there is definitely something for you to take away from this. And for those of you that have raised your hand, I'll need you all to kind of how will I put it? This is a very very supportive community. Now, this fellowship by TEFEM is beyond just making you a product designer. We also want to develop or make or impact in the lives of women generally. So if like you're here and you're beyond, like you've gone beyond beginner level, you know it by yourself, maybe you've done a training before, or you've even gotten as good as even teaching, it's perfectly fine, you're still in the right place. So what I'll need all of you to do, I'll try and I'll communicate with goodness. I'll communicate with goodness for those of you that raised your hand, and see how we can maybe kind of do a pair, because I don't know if you guys are informed, but you're going to be working on a project for the next 6 weeks. Sorry, 3 months after your training. The fellowship is for 6 months. 3 week, three the first 3 months is for the training, and then the next 3 months is for your practicals. Like that one, you now be working on your own project, and you will be doing it alongside the other learning tracks. So the front end developers, whatever it is you could be working on as product designers, you'll be collaborating with those different people. So most of you at the end of this training, you might even like have your own product, or you could have a product that might even be sellable at the end of it. So I just want you all to have this at the back of your mind, right? And for those of you that have more knowledge, it's an opportunity for you to like still grow, because you will definitely need to be sharing this knowledge with the rest of us that are not that knowledgeable. So the reason why I say the rest of us is because me myself, I'm still learning. Like I have a lot to learn from each of you, and you also have things to learn from me. So that's just a brief thing I wanted to chip in before I start the session. You all can lower your hands now. Thank you. Thank you. So getting to um our topic for today. Let me just quickly share screen. I don't know if you guys have gotten the one for yesterday. Did you guys get access to the curriculum?
Yes, we did.
No,
Okay,
ma.
you've gotten it, right? So okay, Ella said she couldn't, but I'm seeing a lot of people giving a thumbs up. So if you did not get it, like, can I hear from one person and know what the reason is?
I think the curriculum is in the group, on the Telegram group. The announcement.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. You can.
Okay, yeah. So I was asking if Goodness is on this call. Is she here?
Yes, I am here. Good evening.
Right. Evening, Goodness. So please, can you? Is it possible for you to maybe pin the slides for yesterday's session on the group chat so that they can have access to it, even those that maybe missed it, they can easily find it. Thank you. Then
Oh,
for the recording, the link that Goodness shared earlier, I see most of you have been requesting for access. So we'll share a more public link, right? So most of these recordings are done on the call. So we have to like do some processing and stuff before we make it available to you all. So, but currently it has been I've gotten an information that it has been uploaded on YouTube. So you get the access to where you can watch it. So even beyond now, like maybe few months from now, few years from now, if you still want to go back and watch the videos, they are there for you to watch. So that one should not be an issue. You definitely get the recordings. Even for this one now that we're having, you still get to have it. So you can always refer back to it if you need any clarification or maybe you're not clear on something. Moving on. So I'll share my screen now. Okay. So just confirm you guys are still with me. You can give a thumbs up. Let me be sure you're here. Okay, okay, I'm seeing many hands. So let me quickly share my screen now. Guys, please just give me 1 second. I'm trying to get my screen up. Sorry. Yeah, Hassan, you can speak. Your hand is raised.
Oh, I don't seem to hear anything. Any copy sound. Is it only from my end? Or are we hearing? Please, if anyone is hearing, just notify. Raise your hand if you are hearing because I can't hear anybody.
We can hear
We
you.
can hear you.
can hear you. She said we should give her some time. Let's just be patient, please.
Alice, can you mute?
Please let me know if you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Yes, we can see.
All right. So apologies for the delay. I was trying to get it up. So today we'll be talking about one of my, let's say, favorite topics when it has to do with product design, and that's design thinking. So design thinking is basically, it's very simple. It's how a designer thinks, just like the word entails. Just give me a minute and get something up. Okay, so as a product designer, basically, there's already a way that you should be thinking, and that's the easiest way I kind of define design thinking. It's using your not just thinking as a normal person now, but thinking as a designer. And in this case, I would say we defined what what UX design was, and it's majorly like sitting in, or would I say putting yourself your users need, understand your users pain points, and understand all those kind of things about your users to be able to design better experiences for them, better products for your users. So design thinking is more of a, let's say, an industry centric process, and that simply means the way we've, because in design there are like several frameworks, and frameworks are the way we have formulas for mathematics and statistics. So in this industry, what we work with is like frameworks, processes, strategies, and you'll be hearing a lot of these things often. So one of the frameworks that we kind of have, and the reason why we're having frameworks is because the process is not a linear process, right? Is anybody having the same issue from their own end?
Yes, your voice is breaking, please.
Okay, let me try to. Can you hear me clearly now? Goodness, are you here? Please, if you can see my screen, can you raise your hand? Let
Yes,
me
I'm
just. Yes,
here.
I'm here. Okay, can you hear me clearly? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Okay, I have to just switch my device. So, yeah, as I was saying, I'll share this document with you or the slide on the group chat. Okay, I'm seeing the hands. Thank you. So it's the way a designer basically thinks, the way they position themselves to. Oh, God. It's the way you like stand out as a designer and go through the entire design process. So as a framework, it means that if you're hearing me clearly, please just let me know so that I will not be talking to myself.
Very clearly.
Okay, you can hear me. Thank you. All right. So it means you do not need to see things the way other people would see it. You need to like approach things differently when you are a designer. And I'm hoping that since we are here to become better designers and get to know everything there is to know about product design, then this is one of the tricks to it is to actually think in that kind of way. Now, what does it mean to um be a design thinker and what does the design thinking process entail? So the design thinking basically is a non-linear iterative process in which we seek to understand the user. Now, as I'm going through this, I just want you to take note of some keywords. Now, one of the words is non-linear. So the design process is not one that just goes from okay, you wake up in the morning. Once you wake up in the morning, you maybe have your devotion. After having your devotion, have a time of reflection. After reflection, you probably, for those of you maybe that are in school, you prepare for school. If you're a worker, you go for work. Like it's already I mean, for some people it's a linear thing. Like they know what to do once they are done with this, and then they know what to do once they are done with the next one. And once they are done with all of this, it's not like you can go from the stage of waking up down to running to work. You have to go through some processes. You have to like take your bath, brush your teeth, do all those things because that's how the linear process is.
Oh, what's this now?
Hello, Ma. Sorry to interrupt you. Your screen is tiny. We can't actually see it. Please, if you can hear me.
You can zoom in, you see it properly.
Same here. I've seen this, still the same.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Alright. So apologies for that. So like I mentioned, just to continue from where I stopped, non-linear is the word, the first word. Then the next word is an iterative process. So iterative means in okay, so I studied chemical engineering in school, and we do most of our processes are iterative. So you could there are some of our formulas that we normally work on in those days. I really cannot remember so much about it, but I know like where I learned that term for the very first time was in my like course of study back in school. So we do a lot of iterations. There are times when you're working on maybe you've already gotten to a point in a process journey, and then you have to now go back to where you started from again and maybe add something to that point that you started from. So it's like instead of you just maybe let me use like the process of cooking for instance. Now if you maybe you want to boil rice, if you just put rice on fire after washing the rice and then you put it on fire to now like steam up and complete cooking, there are times when maybe if you go back, you see that the water I put was not enough. So you now go back and add water again. So that's just a rough example of how of what I mean by iterative. It means that you do not just put that water at the beginning and leave it to what if something happens along the way and is not enough, or maybe you did not like or maybe because of the kind of rice or because of the kind of process you've used to prepare it, there's now a reason why you need to change something about it. So that's what iterative simply means. It means like you go back to do something. It's not straight. It's always a process where you need to come back, think on it, check if okay, are there differences, are there things that we can improve on, are there things we can change, are there things that are not working that we need to take out entirely. So that's what the entire design process is like. It's not straightforward. Like if something I used to tell people is that if you're the kind of person that does not that you just like I just like things to be very orderly, I just like things to be straightforward, then I don't know if product design is really for you, because the process can really not be straightforward, and that's why we have frameworks a lot of times, because these processes are not straightforward. So frameworks help to make it a lot more structured and straightforward, to say okay, we know that you do not need to go from this stage to this stage a lot of times, but at least have somewhere to start from. You get? So that's what design thinking is. And then in everything you do, the goal is for you to understand the user, challenge assumptions. So the UX process, like I mentioned yesterday, is centered around your user most of the times. Although there are cases where, in short, in most cases too, you're kind of in between your user and your clients, trying to like find a balance between the needs of these two people. So one of your duties is to understand the user. And how do you understand your user? Is by challenging assumptions. So there's something you already know that your users would most likely do. But then you need to step in the shoes to say, okay, can they do this in a different way? Or is there a better way for them to do this to improve on their experience? And then you need to also redefine problems in an attempt to create alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent with our initial level of understanding. So all of this is just plenty English. At the end of the day, what it means is that your user is the center of everything that you are doing. And to be able to understand your user, you need to have it in your mind. Just know, like in the previous slide, I said it is the mindset of a designer. So it means that it is the way you have to think, it's the way you have to like program your mind to say that okay, my user is at the center, and all of these things is what I'm trying to do to make sure that my user has a better experience at the end of the day. So I do not necessarily need to go with the norm. If maybe 10 people are doing something, right? Now, from it, as from your own perspective, you need to understand how these 10 people are doing what they are doing, the reasons why they are doing it, a lot of other things. Now, challenging assumptions will now be okay. if they are doing it in this kind of way, so maybe I go to a neighborhood and I find out that they do not have boreholes, so they use wells most of the time, and I want to use the design thinking process to kind of uncover, maybe think of ideas to make the process of getting water better in that community. Now, understanding my users would be me trying to say, okay, out of these 10 families I know now in this place, what is it that they do exactly? Like, how do they live their lives on a day-to-day basis? So understanding could even go as far as like understanding every, like as much as you need to know about your user to inform you to make a decision on better ways to improve their experience. So that's what the design thinking process generally entails. And all of it is particularly useful because it generates a unique and specific outcome. Now, you do not just enter blindly. Like I said, one of the key things, your key responsibilities as a product designer is to understand your user. And to understand your user means you need to probably have a knowledge of who your user is even before you meet them. But then all those knowledges you have are still going to be hypothetical knowledges. Like, it's not like you already know what the answer is, but you're going in saying, okay, because like I can do research. Of course, you're a human being as well, so it's possible that you can even like understand, like maybe you've been in a situation like that before and you know what that kind of situation is, so you might even go in knowing that, okay, so I now stayed in a neighborhood before that we do not have boreholes, we also were using wells, so somehow I can relate to these people to say, okay, this is how they live their lives, so it's possible that solutions like this might work for them. But then at the end of the day, the knowledge I'm going in with is my own personal knowledge. But the knowledge that is most important for me is the knowledge I will get from what those people's experiences are currently. So that's an example of what the design thinking process is, right? So I'll just go to the next slide. Now, this process, it has 5 different steps. In some cases, in some cases, you see it as 6, but the framework is, in most cases, 5. So the first step is empathizing. I will not use the word step because, like I said, it's not really like, oh, yeah, from here, you must go here, you must go here. Sometimes you might even move from one to the end, depending on the situations, right? I'm seeing some messages. Oh, Joyce. Okay. So I'll just move on. So the first step is to empathize. The next one is to define. The third one is to ideate. The fourth one is to prototype. The fifth one is to test. Now, all of these things, I will not say they are really big English. I know most of you might have come across it already. And of course, those of us that like mentioned that we previously had an experience of product design before, we've maybe done it before to an extent, you know what these things kind of entail. So I'm not bringing it to use like anywhere you even check. Like if you go online now and you type design thinking process, you see these things like is everywhere. It's not something that is hidden. But then the truth of the matter is that just seeing it and not understanding how it works in practical sense, it could be like it could make you misinterpret a lot of things. I remember when I first came into design, it was confusing for me. I was like, empathize, okay, it's like the Bible, design Bible, like okay, this is the process. But then in seeing it playing out in reality, it might not even be as straightforward as it's looking in this design. So I'll just move on to like the breakdown for each of them, and then for this week, majorly we'll just be going through all these things. Then by next week we'll go into like more practical sessions and all of that. So the first thing on that frame on what I shared is the stage of empathy. But before I start, I want to know, does anybody has have any questions so far based on what I've shared? Any questions? Any challenges? Can I go on? All right. If you're with me, just give a thumbs up. Let me be sure I'm not alone. All right. Thank you. So moving on to the first design thinking step in the process is the stage of empathizing. Now, this stage is the first thing you do. So even in defining what design thinking is, the first thing that was mentioned is okay, as a non-linear and iterative process, the first thing it seeks to do is to understand the needs of your users, understand your users. So everything around product design is we have some other like different aspects to it which we shared yesterday, like the service design, industrial design, and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, everything in most cases still centers around the users. In fact, when it has to do with user experience, it is UI and it is UX, right? And the other part is user interface. Now, these two things, which most times like they go hand in hand, everything around it, you can see that the common denominator between the both of them is user, 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 user. Now, the user is your first step always. The user is always your first step. Now, the process might not be straight to say, okay, from this to this to this to this, but wherever you are on the process, there's one thing that must always be constant, and that thing is the user. And what is it about the user that is important to you? Is the need of the user. Now, empathizing is a simple English word. It means, in basic terms, you can just say like being able to put yourself in the shoes of your user. I would have asked somebody to explain, but it's fine. So it's being able to put yourself in the shoes of your user. Now, if say I get a shoe and I'm wearing this shoe for the very first time, and okay, let's say my shoe size, let me say, I will not use my exact shoe size, sha. Let me say my shoe size is 42, and I am wearing this shoe. Now I have a friend that wears say shoe size 43 or shoe size 38. Now, if I'm complaining and my leg is paining me and my leg is paining me, the person that's wearing shoe size 38, if the person puts his or her leg into that shoe, there is really no way the person would be able to tell to say, see you, where is it paining you? Like the person will really not even understand where it is paining the person from or where it is paining you from. But as a designer now, we understand that it may not be possible for you to put in your shoes into another person's shoe to perfectly putting your legs into another person's shoe to perfectly understand how that person feels, what that person is needing, what that person does not need. And what this just tells you is that as you're putting your leg into the shoe, in your mind, what you need to do is to grow into that shoe. And how do you grow into that shoe? Now, for instance, let's say I'm a product, you're as let's say I'll use Chidera as an example. You're the first person I'm seeing on my screen. So Chidera finishes her 3 months course and finishes her 3 months mentorship. Chidera finishes her 3 month course and finishes her 3 month mentorship, and she gets her first job as a product designer. Now, if Chidera gets this job as a product designer, and Chidera, just to confirm, which field of study are you in currently? Should I use another person that will answer me fast? I'm not hearing you, Chidera. Who has not spoken on this call? Okay, who wants to answer me fast? You can raise your hand. Let me, or just unmute your mic.
Hello, ma.
Okay, please, who is speaking? I don't know. I'm not seeing all of you at the same time.
Hi, ma. My name is Esther.
Okay, Esther. Thanks so much, Esther, for volunteering. Okay. So Esther, I'll just ask you questions, right? So which course of study? Are you students or where are you joining in from first of all?
I'm joining from Abuja, Nigeria.
Alright. Are you a student or you're working?
A recent graduate, planning to serve very soon. Speak up
Alright.
to go
Please,
for
which course
service.
are you studying?
Accounting.
So it's echoing. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I studied accounting.
It's kind of echoing. Can I don't know. Um okay, if someone having a clearer mic or something, I don't know. Esther, maybe you might need to leave the call and join back. There's an echo from your end. So who else would need to go with me, please? Okay, Paula, please. I saw your hand first. You can unmute. All right, thank you, Paula. Can you hear me, Paula?
Yes, ma, I can hear you.
All right, where are you joining us from?
From Benue
All
State.
right, thank you. Thank you for joining in. So, are you a student or are you working?
No, a recent graduate.
Wow, I have plenty recent graduates here. Okay. Nice speaking with you, Paula. So, where is your look? Sorry, what did you study in school?
I study microbiology.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Now, Paula studied microbiology, and for the first 3 months, you finish this training. The next 3 months, you do your mentorship, and you possibly get your first job as a product designer. And maybe it could be a freelancing gig. Maybe somebody just told you, oh, yeah, Paula, I've been seeing you've been talking about design. Okay, fine. I have this project. I want you to do it for me. And then you get the project and you open the project requirements. And the first thing that you're seeing is um the project is for a let me look for a firm now. Let me look for an industry. Okay, it's a project that has to do with the entertainment industry. Would you take it on or not?
I will.
Okay, okay. So why do you think you would want to take it up?
Because I feel that I'll be able to, I would have gained enough knowledge to take it up.
Okay. So do you think there'll be a difference between you and maybe me, for instance, now that I've said I studied chemical engineering in school, right? And I get that project in the agriculture industry. Oh, not agriculture now, entertainment industry, which is very like it's far from what I studied in school. Now, do you think there's any difference between me and you, knowledge wise, in terms of that industry now, like the industry of agriculture, the kind of users in the agriculture field? Do you think two of us are on the same level? Entertainment field, sorry, not agriculture. I don't know why I'm mixing it both. Do you think both of
Exactly.
us are on the same knowledge level when it has to do with the industry?
Mm, yes and no, in a way.
Okay, so why would you say yes?
Yes, because everyone is like a critical thinker. We can be able to make smart ideas, make smart decisions. And then no, because one person might have the edge over the other, might be more knowledgeable than the other in that field, will know more about the entertainment than the other. So that's a yes and no answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Paula. Thank you. So,
Welcome.
there are some things you mentioned that I really liked. The fact that you said everybody's a critical thinker, and please, like, hold on to that comment because it's really going to help you a lot as you move on in the industry. Now, like Paula said, the truth of the whole matter is that if I'm giving maybe an entertainment project to work on, and Paula too is giving the same project after her first 6 months as a product designer, the truth is that we might even have to, is there's every possibility that we are on the same knowledge level when it has to do with the entertainment industry, because I've probably never worked in the entertainment industry before. I've probably never had anything to do with the entertainment industry before. And as far as the industry, as far as product design is concerned, it is very much acceptable. And the reason why it's acceptable is because, going back to our shoe size illustration, this shoe now that your leg, you know your leg cannot fit, you do not have the kind, you don't have a lot of information about that industry. Now, what I need what I need in the first place to even make a decision, to even make any move as a designer, or even from wherever field I'm coming from, is to be able to fill in that knowledge gap. So that knowledge gap now, you can say it is your leg, like the 38 size leg that is putting his foot or his leg into the 48, the 42 size shoe. It means that I know I do not know a lot about this industry, and to be able to know anything in this industry, to be able to make any decision, to be able to even understand anything, I need to be able to put my leg into their shoe, whether it fits so or it does not fit. Now, what will determine how much it will fit is how much of information I can get, how much of knowledge I can build up within that period of that project. It will really help a lot for you to be able to blend in and say, okay, wow, so this is how they do things. And there are several ways you can go about getting that kind of information. Now, this is in simple words what empathy is. It is you coming in to say, oh yes, I know I don't know a lot about this industry. I do not know a lot about this industry. I accept the fact that I don't know. But I need to know, because if I do not know what is going on in the entertainment industry and I have a project in the entertainment industry, I need to work on a product for the entertainment industry, then it means I need to put in my leg into their shoes to be able to understand how they do their things, how they make their decisions, how they do a lot of things. So if maybe you're the kind of person that you do not like if this thing no concern you, it no concern you, then I don't know how you're going to function here, because you have to start learning to put yourself in something that is not your business. You have to learn to start reading books, reading articles, reading a lot of things online, consuming a lot of information, because all those information will definitely come in handy one day. Now you may say that I don't have information about I don't have any information about the entertainment industry, but maybe you might even have relationship with somebody that has worked something there. So you might now have an edge over maybe the next person that doesn't have that level of information. Now, at the end of the day, whether you came in new, whether you did not, the thing that matters is that information is what we are looking for. And the best way for you to understand this, to get this information, is for you to be empathetic. Now, empathetic towards the users in that industry, because if the products you create are for people, you do not design products for maybe toys to come and use it. It's people you're building for. So you need to understand what there is to understand about these people. And to be able to understand, you need to be able to do your research. Now, that's like the basis for every in short, everything you need to do as a designer. You need to be very core in your research process, because if you're not strong in this process, then you miss out on a lot of information. You'll be seeing a lot of designs. Like, there are a lot of designs out there that, of course, they are out there. Yes, they look beautiful, they might look pleasing to the eye, which is like the user interface part, but then it's not really answering to anything, right? There are some apps that you might even have on your phone. It's very beautiful. Like, whenever you look at it, you like looking at it, but you can't, to even use it, it does not help you achieve anything. And that's because to you, it might not be the best experience, but then it's looking very beautiful. So empathy helps you to understand what your users are needing and be able to answer to those needs through your design process. So some of the ways you could go about this, which we'll be digging into as we move on. Who cannot hear me, please?
I believe it's a network.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, we have different methods to go about that, which is the first one is to assume a beginner's mindset. So like I said, the first thing you need to say to yourself is, yes, I know I do not know so much about this, but I'm open to learning as much as I can. And several ways you can go about doing this is by we have the what, how, and why, which is like asking, okay, what do I need to know? How do I need to go about it? Like there are different methods. I'll just skim through this part because we'll still visit it later on. Then to ask why is like ask a lot of questions. I think I published an article recently on LinkedIn about like how to ask some of these questions. So maybe I can share that. You all can just check it out to see what that looks like, but we'll still be visiting all of these on and moving on. Then the next thing is to conduct interviews with empathy. That is now to speak to your users. You know, I said now from this industry, the users are like the primary people you need to understand. And to understand this kind of people, there are different ways you can go about it. It could be either by you maybe observing or checking to see if any research has been done on them before. Now, if you're checking to see if any research has been done on them before, which we'll still be getting to later, but you can just take note of it just for maybe reference purposes, is now, if there's already information out there about maybe the entertainment industry that you're going to be making reference to, the same way we make references in academic papers, right? Then this one you're going to see it is secondary research because it is like you're not necessarily getting it directly from the horse's mouth, but you're getting it from a source that might have spoken to a person. So that's like the secondary level of research. So that's what we call it secondary research. So that's another process which I didn't even add here. But then another thing is to build empathy with analogies. Like empathy is like digging in. You need to you don't just go by what, okay, this person is saying, my leg is paining, my leg is paining me, but you need to be open to say, okay, what are the different things that this person could be going through that might be causing the person's leg to pain the person. It might be that probably the person did not even like sometimes they say if you oil your foot, then maybe your shoes will not pain you so much. So what if it's because of the kind of shoe, or the person has a sore on the person's foot, or maybe the person did not do something. So all those things are things that could be surrounding what the person is even crying to you about, what the problem is. So that's what empathy helps you do. It helps you to really understand if that is the problem or not. Now, the next thing is to define. So, defining is when you've been able to say, okay, I understand what the problem is now. I've gotten a lot of information from different sources about about my user's need and my user's problem. So now this defining helps you to narrow down and say, okay, so now that I've gotten all this information, what can I make out of it and how do I move forward from this point now? So most times, for those of us that are in school or are done with school that have maybe written projects before, I think I've spoken to like two of you now that said your recent graduate. So you should have heard of should have heard of problem statements. So that is you knowing, okay, so this is the problem, but then you need to like frame it into a statement so that it helps you to guide your process. So the same way you go about your regular research, right? Most of those processes are replicated in design too. You understand your problem statements, understand how you like methodologies around it, how you go through the process, and how you get information and maybe drive conclusions and recommendations from them. So some of these things are things you still get to do in UX too, majorly for UX research now. So users needs is generally problems like challenges. How do you make these kind of things better? So at this point of defining, you're not even at this point you're not saying, this is what the answer to the problem is. So you're still trying to understand, okay, so out of all these problems I've gotten, out of all these things people have been saying, that this one is saying my leg is paining, this one is saying my head is paining me, so what exactly do I want to now focus on? Because I cannot answer to the whole problem of the entire world. Sometimes there are cases where you might even get a clue of where you should narrow down to. So maybe, like, let me use the entertainment own as an example now. Maybe it's around the music industry that I'm trying to do a project, or one of you is trying to work on a project around the music industry. And for this, like, the major or the people I'm looking at, um I'm targeting musicians, just musicians, not the people that listen to the music, oh, just the musicians, maybe in even a particular music genre, maybe like R&B or gospel. Maybe that's like where I'm focusing on. So if I'm focusing, it now helps you to say, okay, oh, I'm hearing a lot of things from different places. I've gotten a lot of information from different sources. Now, what do I make out of this information? So that's what happens at the definition stage. Now, please, I know that I might be fast, but please just pardon me. We just have a lot to cover, but all of these things, like I've said, we'll dig into like the actual application of it, and at that phase, it will make a lot of sense. So I'll just move on from here. The next thing now would be, you've understood the problem, you've now known what you're going to focus on. So the next thing you're going to do is to start ideating. So as the name entails, it's to think of ideas, like solutions to those problems that you've understood. Now, like I said, drawing back to the beginning, all these things, of course, they are beautiful processes, but in most cases, they do not go linear. Like, from empathy to define to ideas, they do not go linear. And that's where, like, your strength as a designer comes in, to know, okay, at what point do I now use this method over the other? Or at what point do I go to this step? At what point do I go back to a step that I might have previously done? So, but all of those things at the end of the day, like I said, is tying back to your user. So at these different phases, the person that is consistent amongst everything, whether you are using any process or whether you're not using any process, whether you're using any tool or you're not using any tool, like, I mean, Figma is one of the popular tools, but there are times when you might not even need to use Figma because maybe what if it's not like a digital product or something like that. So all of these things still centers around one person, which is your user, and of course another person that is, in most cases, for this phase of your career now, the person might not really be so important because you're trying to understand the process very well. But that other person is also very powerful because most times they are the ones giving you the resources to go ahead with this design. So maybe the people that are hiring you now, they are saying, or the clients that is giving you this freelance gig now is telling you, oh, CEO, we just want to maybe focus on these people. We already have a solution in mind. So based on that person now, which is like the client, which is the other side of the coin, you need to now say, okay, I understand that my user is my center, like everything my user is saying is true. But then my client is the one giving me resources, feeding into this entire thing. So if my client is saying something else and my user is saying something else, I need to be able to find a balance in between. So that's where your own strength as a designer now comes in. A lot of people have different ways they go about it. It's not just one way for everybody. So that's where you get to shine your own light as a designer. So in the process of ideation is where you think of these different ideas to make out solutions to answer to the problems you've identified. Any questions so far? Is it
Yes, please.
No.
all right?
Sorry, I just want to ask something because my network logged me out for a while. Like, did you mention any step after design thinking? Was it empathizing you went to, or there was something else? So I can know if I'll leave a space.
Yeah, so if after design thinking is the process, but the process entails empathizing,
Okay, that was the
designing.
first that you mentioned.
Yes,
Okay,
empathy was the first step under the design thinking process.
okay,
Yes.
thank you. That means I didn't miss any. Thank you.
All right. So the next one after ideation is prototyping. Now, prototyping is where you tend to visualize these ideas. Now, I'm saying visualize because if you have something in your head, you already have an idea in your head, you've already painted a picture of, okay, this is the kind of this is the kind of thing I want to give my user now to answer to this problem. I'm very sure because I spoke to my users, I was able to define, I was able to think of ideas, and this is the idea I have in my head. Now you have the idea in your head. It does not matter to anybody. What they want to see, what they want is something they can see, something they can maybe experience. It might not be something tangible, but okay, how does this idea work? So that's where prototyping comes in. Prototyping simply means like representing ideas. So there are different ways you could think of representing them, but the goal of a prototype is to say, okay, if I've understood now, this is what maybe the product is, this is what maybe the experience is it really what my users are needing? And that will now launch you into the next phase, which is the phase of testing. Now, testing, once you've gotten, okay, this is the idea and this is what the idea would look like, different ways to go about it. So you now need to test and say, okay, I know that I did my research, I did everything, I did Bobo Tibo, I've gotten all the answers I want, I've gotten the idea, and I'm sure this idea is going to work. I've been able to visualize this idea. Now, if you've been able to make that idea come to life and people are seeing it and saying, okay, oh, now you need to test to see that it works. And the reason why you need to test is because for designs generally, like a lot of products that most of you know about are like maybe websites, mobile applications. There are a lot of other products in different industries. They have different kinds of products. Some could not may not even be like the products you see on webs like as websites or in the form of applications. Some could even be maybe services, maybe a different way to doing something. It could be even a policy, maybe a government policy. All those things are ideas that have been prototypes. Now, this testing phase is what helps you to not spend so much, because most of these things, they take a lot of money, they take a lot of effort, they take a lot of time. But if you're able to just say, okay, if I go through this process and I just have a bit of it, and that's where the iteration thing happens. If I have a bit of it, like I say, okay, I want to design for, so Apple, for instance, they want to design for, they want to design for probably a billion users. But instead of designing the first set of designs they will do, they will not go and design it for a billion users, trust me, because they know it's going to cost a lot to bring in a product for a billion users that maybe up to 100 users might not even end up using. So how do they now make sure that they do not spend so much bringing in that product and have to now lose at the end of the day? Is by going through these processes. Now, at the point of testing, that's where you hear some things like I don't know if you've heard of maybe terms like beta tests, um feature testing, all those things. You just have like a way. Okay, thank you. I'm seeing the thumbs up. So you just have a way to say, okay, this thing is out, though, but it's really not out for everybody. So how do you now like just can you just try it out to see how it works, to now see how we can better make it. Now there are different reasons you could be testing for, depending on the phase that you are in your own process. And like I said, these things are not straightforward. So I know I'm saying phase, I'm saying steps. You can even decide to say, okay, after I've done my research, I've empathized, an idea hits my head immediately. You could decide to even test at that phase just to quickly get feedback and iterate. So iterate means, okay, you've gotten that feedback, you implement that feedback, you make a decision. Like it's just the whole process of, okay, making a decision based on research, based on what you've heard from your users, based on the ideas that you have, and based on the tests that you've done, making it better, going back again. So most times, all these things in just one product, like maybe and like I'm using Apple as an example, maybe an Apple product, like an Apple phone that is, I think now the one that's coming out is the iPhone 16 is almost coming out. So you might be surprised that between the time that they released the last iPhone 15, I think Pro Max, and the time that they are going to release the 16. I don't know if they do, but I know soon they should be in the pipeline to doing that. Between that time, they might have gone through these 5 different phases a number of times. It might not just be once. They've maybe gone through it different times to be able to land on the final one that you will now see. And even after you've seen that product, you always see things like, oh yeah, update your what do you call it? Update your software, update your app, update this, update that. That's because even as you're using it now, you are still helping them to test some things. So they keep on iterating, they keep on changing, they keep on updating, they keep on, because if they don't keep on doing all those things, they will just go out of the market. I don't know if I'm making any sense. If you guys are still with me, please just give a thumbs up. All right, thank you. So now the last phase, and I know I did not add this in the picture I shared at first, and that's because most times it doesn't really, some people don't necessarily like add it to that image stuff, but most times it comes up in the process where you now implement, that is bringing it to life. It's kind of similar to the prototyping, and I guess that's why sometimes it's not really so obvious. But this time around is like, okay, you've tested, you've prototyped, and then you're now ready to launch live so that people can have access to it, keep using it, and while you keep on still going through that entire process. So that's basically what design thinking is. And okay, with that, like, we've actually gone through all the slides. So I'll just take the next few minutes for questions. If you have any questions, if you need any clarity on something, you can quickly just ask, and then we'll call it an evening. Any questions? Okay,
Yes,
Precious,
I
you
have
can
a
speak.
okay. Good evening, everyone. Ms. Somto, please, my question is about the whole stages of the designer's thinking. You know, the first one is empathize or so. And then you said when we go to idea and every other thing, you said even after getting your idea, you don't implement. You have to test, like keep testing. Now, my question about it is about the testing. Now, when a person you get your first job to carry out a product design, now in testing it is going to actually have some cost. So now for the cost of testing, if at all now you carry out the test and then you find out that it's actually going to cost more than what you bargain for, and you've already taken the job or so. Now my question is based on that cost. Now for the cost of the testing, are you going to cover the cost of it as the product designer, or your client giving you the job?
Okay, thank you for that question. So first of all, right, you're not the cost that comes with everything is not your money. Like, you're not doing product design for you to not gonna be paying for clients work. You get. So all of these things is part of the things you need to learn as you go on in the process and get more exposed in the field. So there are times when a lot of people, like, they've made mistakes because of this kind of situations that you mentioned, that they did not envision that it will cost this much. But then as you go on, like, with more experience, you get to know, okay, this is what is likely to happen. Because as much as, yes, so we are thinking of brilliant ideas, we are being very critical in our thinking and all of that, there are times when, in short, really, there are a lot of things. There's how I put it, like, nothing is totally new, you get, if I could use it in that kind of way. Of course, you have a lot of brilliant ideas that come out and people are like, what's going on here? But there's already a way it has been done before. So you need to be able to ground yourself in understanding how it has been previously done. So even in taking on that job, as a designer, or which is not even part of what we are discussing now. But even as you're taking it on, you need to understand, okay, people that have taken on this kind of jobs, what would it likely entail? Do you understand? Because it is your process, it is your, it's not just, how will I put it, like this thing about design thinking, it's not just a kind of mindset you put on when you are actually doing product design. It should be a way you think normally. Do you understand? So even before you take on a job, these are some of the things you need to consider to say, okay, oh, I need to test. And in testing, like I said, most of these things, most of the reasons for this kind of processes is so that there are a lot of other reasons, but some of the reasons, like I mentioned, is the thing about costing. So you don't spend so much bringing in, maybe paying developers to work on the
I can't hear you.
Miss Santo, you've gone off. We can't hear you. Please, can anybody hear her? I'm busy from my own side.
I think it's network. I think she's having network problem.
All right, thank you, okay.
Okay, apologies for that. Apologies for going off. So yeah, like I was saying, so if you now you know that, okay, because of the kind of project I'm taking on, you envision that, okay, this is how much it will most likely cost. At this point, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be answering to this question now, because jumping to the money part, that's like a later phase kind of thing, because there are a lot of other things that, of course, you need to think of the tools you're going to be using and all of that, which would make up for the cost at the end of the day. So if you know that, yes, because of the kind of project I'm doing, launching fully this kind of will I say testing prototype thing now, like maybe the actual application or the actual website coming to life. Instead of you doing it, there are several other ways, of which we are going to still share, several other quicker ways that you can get answers to this question. Sometimes you might not even need to build something per se to go and start maybe building, these houses we used to build when we were in school those days. You do not necessarily need to start building the actual house to show it. So even now, let me use like house structures. A lot of times you see like the picture of the house, they'll just show you exactly what the picture of the house is going to look like once you're done with it. So that way the person can already see it, visualization, whatever form it takes. But at the end of the day, the goal is to know, okay, is this thing really working? If it's not working, then okay, we quickly move on. If it's working, we quickly implement it. Do you understand? Does that answer to your question? Eh? Did I answer to the question? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Thank you, ma. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, Victoria, you have a question. You can ask. Then Paula and you.
Good evening, Ma. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay. In concerning the part where you talk about empathy, I wanted to ask, in the methods, you said that there is the Ask Five Whys. So I don't know if you said it or it was my network that broke at that point. I want to ask, what are the five whys that you are going to ask in inquiring so that you can show empathy or be fit into that position where you can get solutions for that particular product. That's my question.
All right, thank you, Victoria. So, like I said, five whys is just a like a framework. The same way in mathematics we have a formula. It's like saying board mass. So that's just maybe a way to get answers to questions that people might not easily want to speak to. So I don't want to start entering into it, but it's like saying, okay, um why do you do this? This is just an example. I don't want to like go into details, but it's just like I said, it's just a formula. It's one of the ways you can get answers to questions. You can still maybe practice it. Like I said, I think that was when I mentioned I kind of published an article on it. So maybe you can look at that. I'll share it on the Telegram group just so you see what it simply is. But it's just simply one of the formulas you can use. It's like saying, okay, why did you do this? The person answers you. You ask again, okay, why did you now do it this way? The person answers you, okay, so after you now did this way, why did you? It's just like asking five different levels of questions before you get to the root cause of that problem. So it's in I think in maths, there's a way they used to put it, they used to call it like root cause analysis or something. Like understanding the deeper reason to doing something, not just on the surface level. So that's generally what it is. But in practical sense, it's beyond that too. So you can maybe just check out. See, just you know what? I'm going to give it to you as an assignment, Victoria. Just go and do your research on five whys as a process of asking questions. It's something you can use even beyond just product design. You can use it in any, like if you want to maybe reflect on your goals for the year, all those kind of things. It's a framework you can use for yourself. So you can just check it out. I'll also share the one I know I've done a bit of research on and share with you guys on the Telegram group. Does that
All
answer?
right, ma. Yes, ma. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hero, please, your question.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I want you to throw some light on user research, like when making research for a product before diving into design proper.
Okay, so I will not answer to that question. Okay, so I would love to answer to that, but the reason I'm not going to answer to that is because your next class on Monday, that's what we're going to be dealing on. So Monday you have all the answers that you need to that question because that's what we're focusing on.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Paula.
Ma, please, under the methods of empathy, you spoke about the last method. You say build empathy with analogies. Please, I didn't understand that. I didn't get that. The explanation.
Okay, so I knew you're going to I knew somebody was maybe going to ask for that one. So I'll give you the same answer I gave Victory. It's Victory that joined. Because we don't have time, I don't want to start like going into details, but some of these things we'll still touch it later. So for now, just so we move fast and I think I still have one more person to answer to before our time is up. And I don't want to like keep us here beyond that time. So can you also, if you want to maybe start researching on it, it's totally fine, but it's part of what we'll still cover. You actually see how we can make use of it. But basically, it means just like connecting dots together. You've gotten bits and pieces of information from different places, different levels of research that you've done, spoken to your users, maybe done like your secondary research, like I mentioned, from other sources, trusted sources that have researched on this kind of things before, maybe online information you get and all of that. So making kind of adding these dots together to say, okay, if these people are, if 100 people in this place are doing something like this, there must be something around this. There must be like a pattern. There must be a reason why they are all doing the same thing. So that's like creating an analogy of the process to say, okay, what is really going on? Why would they be doing it this way? Which is all part of what you should be doing as a designer in that stage of empathy, understanding your users. So I'll leave it at that for now, and I don't know if it's exhaustive. I know it's not really exhaustive, but that's enough sufficient as I can give for now. I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of information, please. Okay, is that fine, Paula?
Yes, ma, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Goodness, please, just to confirm, did you hope you're collecting the attendance for today's class? Because that's very important for us.
Yes, yes, I am.
All right, thank you.
But thank you.
Okay,
Oh, that
Chukwu,
I've told
I'll
you
take
to
your
go. Yes,
question.
I'll follow.
Okay,
Okay,
Chukwu,
okay.
yeah,
Can you
please.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So thank you very much for the class. I just want to ask, like, how you balance the situation where there's a conflict between what you found out that the users need, but maybe you are doing your research and you understand that this is what the users need, but your clients they're asking you to design another thing. So how do you handle that situation?
Okay, so okay, Chukwu, this is a very dicey question. Like for me, that I think that's always the question I always have, and the reason is because there are times when you it depends on your own reason for even taking on the project in the first place. There are times when at the end of the day, who is funding it, right, is the client. But I would not say you should just listen to the clients, right? But in your own expertise, and that's why we actually take the time to teach you everything you need to know about the process, because it's a decision you need to keep making at every point in time, is to make sure that there is that like straight line to say, okay, this is the point that my users can get to, and this is the point that my clients can get to. This is how much of compromise I can make between both sides. I cannot give you a yes and no answer, or I cannot say listen to the clients, I cannot say listen to the user, because I always listen to my users and I always listen to my clients. I always listen to my users, I always listen to my clients. But at the end of the day, I would have a reason to make that decision, like to say, okay, this is the part I'm going to lean towards to, and not towards this part. But are you rolling a product into the market? Okay, if you're rolling a product into the market, are these people going to use it? Now imagine if I bring these products into the market and my clients have said this is what they want, if the user does not end up using the products, I've wasted the client's money and I've not like fulfilled my own part as a designer. I've wasted that opportunity, right? So it's also a question that you need to keep at the back of your mind. But what you should prioritize at the first phase, at that point where you're starting to make decisions, you're trying to understand the problem, is sitting at the mind of your users first, because anything that you do is going to be all, if you're telling your clients, okay, I feel like the users, this is what they will most likely do, they will listen to you. Your clients, they want to make the right decision too. Nobody really knows the best decision to make, and that's why they're hiring you, right? So once you understand the process well and you've used it over time and you've seen that, okay, this is what works and this is what does not work, then it will be easier for you to make that decision. But I'm not going to tell you this is who to follow or this is not who to follow. So I guess I'll be wrapping it up here. I don't know if I answered you, Gechukwu.
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you so much. So we'll be ending the class here. I don't want to overshoot time for any reason. If you have any other questions, please drop it on the Telegram group. I'll attend to them. For the ones of yesterday, I was not really able to attend to most of them because I had like some other things to do over the weekend. So but I'll get all the answers latest before Monday. You should have all your answers. Thank you so much. Goodness, you can address them. I think I'll just be jumping off the call now.
Sorry,
Bye.
please. I want to ask a question. Sorry for cutting you short. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Please.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to find out the recording was sent to the group chat, but I don't know if we'll have the actual slides like a PDF or a document.
Yes, so I think I don't know. Goodness, you mentioned you shared the one for yesterday. This one will be made available on the group chat. Then for the
Okay.
recording of the session, you get the link to it on YouTube, so you can always go back to it anytime you want.
All right.
Please,
Thank you very
please,
much.
if you've not subscribed to the TFM channel, please make sure you do so. Goodness, please also drop the link to that because it will help you to know when there's an update. I think there's a playlist for product design classes, so anytime you can just go back and watch those videos. But it does not mean you do not attend the classes. If you miss out on any class, goodness is taking attendance. So at the end of the day, anything that happens, you answer to yourself. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. I'll be dropping off now. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thank you, ma. Bye.
All right, good night. Bye bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Good evening. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, goodness, we can hear you. Good evening.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'll be dropping the attendance link now once you drop off from this call in the Telegram group chat. Then I see some people saying that they need the link to the classes. Like she said that you should always attend class, get, and then um me dropping the link for the recording does not mean that you should not attend class. Yes, the link should be dropped, and I've dropped the curriculum too for this class. So any other question to be addressed in the group chats, or is there another one that anyone wants to talk here or say here?
Yeah, sorry. Please, I want to make a request, please. So there is
Okay.
no, I don't know if the group chat has like an announcement channel that is locked and only information is shared there. I checked and I don't think we have any. So I want to ask if it's possible that important information are pinned. For example, now something like the curriculum or group links and all that, they are not
Yes,
pinned.
I just
And most of
closed
the
the
time,
announcement group chat.
messages. All right. Thank you, ma.
Yes, the announcement group chat is the group for important messages. The reason why I opened yesterday was because I had to open it for people that have questions so that she can attend to them. So the announcement group chat is locked for only important messages. And general group chat is for every other thing that we want to do there. I don't know if I've answered you.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Okay. So on this note, we can call it a night. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.